World War I. The War Measures Act was adopted on August 22, 1914, while Canada was in a state of war among other allies against Germany and its allies. It was an approval for Canada to take certain steps in the war and to continue until the war came to its conclusion. Manufacturing in Canada also changed drastically during the First World War. The companies during the war quickly altered to provide all the necessities for war, and they began to manufacture things such as khaki cloth, uniforms, boots, ammunition and weaponry, harness, wagons, and other articles needed for the combating soldiers. When the men and older males went out to fight in the war, more females were given permission to work in the manufacturing companies because the men were mostly gone. The Battle of Ypres. There were 5 parts of the Battle of Ypres. The first was called the First Battle of Ypres, which took place from October 19th to November 22nd, 1914. The second was the Second Battle of Ypres, from April 22nd to May 19th of 1915. The third was known as the Battle of Passchendaele, from July 31st to November 6, 1917. The fourth was the Battle of Lys, April 9th to April 29th, 1918. And the fifth was the Fifth Battle of Ypres, from September 28th to October 2nd of 1918. The first battle took place as an attempt for the German Allies to secure the land of Ypres from the Allied group. The battle took place in Ypres, Belgium. The British, French, and Belgian troops were outnumbered by the troops of Germany, but still took a victory in this battle. The second battle also took place in Ypres, Belgium. In this battle, the Germans used chlorine gas as a weapon. Chlorine gas is heavier than air and therefore sunk to the bottom of the trenches, causing over 60,000 Allied soldiers to fall to their death, while only 30,000 German troops died. And then the German army called off the battle. Almost 250,000 soldiers on each side of the war passed during the third battle. The Germans used machine guns and mustard gas in this battle to fight against the Allies. It occurred because the Allies took control of the city Messines and the Germans fought back. In the end, the Canadian troops took over the village of Passchendaele after months of fighting for it, but the Allies only gained 8 kilometers. The Battle of Lys was an attempt by Germany to take more of the city of Ypres back because the Allies were building up around its borders. 120,000 German soldiers fell dead, went missing, or grew quite injured during this one battle. And the last and fifth battle was the last major battle of the First World War. By this time, the numbers of German soldiers was greatly depleted, and the Allies took advantage of this. They sprung on the German troops and gained approximately 45 miles in only a 2-week span. The Germans lost to the Allies in the end, which led to the ceasing of gunfire for World War I. The Battles of the Somme. The battle started on July 1st and ended in November of 1916, on either side of the river Somme in France. It involved the highest number of casualties for one single battle. There were 420,000 British casualties, the French lost 200,000 soldiers, and the German troops lost almost 500,000 soldiers. Britain lost up to 60,000 soldiers on the first day alone. The Allied forces gained in total an approximate 30 miles. Billy Bishop. Billy Bishop was born named William Avery Bishop and updated his status to Lieutenant Colonel William Bishop in August 1918. He dedicated his entire life to aviation and was the first Canadian to win the Victoria Cross Medal. He was said to have amazing eyesight, so much so that he could put a bullet into a target from very, very, very far away. The Battle of Vimy Ridge. This battle was a strong winning battle for the Canadians and showed our country could really pull our weight in battle. Both the French and the British troops had attempted to flourish a victory in Vimy Ridge from 1914 to 1916, but only in 1917 the Canadian troops alone attacked the German troops and won the battle. The battle began on April 9, 1917, and ended a short 3 days later on April 12, 1917. 3,598 Canadian soldiers were killed and 7,004 Canadian soldiers were wounded. The Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles was a peace treaty signed between the German forces and the Allied powers on June 28, 1919. The most controversial part of the treaty required Germany to accept the responsibility in starting the First World War. In keeping with this, they were to pay a total of $442 billion US at the dollar value of 1919. The funds were to pay for repairs of countries and cities that were affected by the war. The controversy of the payment is questioned whether it was one of the direct causes of the Second World War. The Halifax Explosion. The Halifax explosion occurred on December 6, 1917, when the French cargo ship the SS Mont Blanc collided with the Norwegian ship the SS Imo. The Mont Blanc was carrying large loads of wartime explosives. Approximately 2,000 people of Halifax died from the explosion, the debris, or the fires and collapsed buildings caused by the collision of the two ships. Another 9,000 people were injured gravely. Some families were broken up, children separated from their parents and guardians because of the confusion of the explosion.